and welcome to the webinar today, which is online. The topic of today's webinar is Empowering Patient Engagement and Pharmacovigilance for Enhanced Patient Safety, the Vital Role of Patients and Families. And to give you a background, on September 17th every year, as per the World Health Organization's mandate, it is celebrated as the World Patient Safety Day. In 2019, the World Health Assembly adopted a resolution 72.6, which talked about patient safety being extremely important and why avoidable harm has to be mitigated to reduce harms to patient during their healthcare processes. Every year, there are a series of events that are celebrated and a lot of discussions that happen around World Patient Safety Day. Most of these discussions are within expert groups and healthcare institutions. This year, World Health Organization has said that the patient and family engagement should be center stage because the patients and families are the ones who actually undertake the journey during their healthcare. And they are the ones who experience the harm. And without their participation, the planning as well as the execution for reducing unavoidable harm would be incomplete. In line with this, the Patient Academy for Innovation and Research has planned a series of events, one of which is today's webinar. We also have a poster contest. We have another webinar where country-level initiatives will be shared on the 22nd. Today's topic, as I said, is how do we empower patients to be able to report medication errors or errors related to medication that patients and families take. And what we are going to do is to hear from two experts who will bring their perspectives as treating physicians as well as industry experts, and two patients who will bring their perspectives. Once we hear from all the four experts, we will have a Q&A session. And then we can take up also questions from the audience. So Vikas, if I can have the introductory slides, please. I will begin the webinar by introducing our experts. I am Dr. Ratna, and I head an organization, as I said before, called the Patient Academy for Innovation and Research. Can I have the full screen, please? Yes, thank you. We also lead a cross-disease patient alliance called Indian Alliance of Patient Groups, and this is more in the context of India. However, we work with several patient groups across the Asia-Pacific region, and our work spans across rare diseases, non-communicable diseases, as well as patient safety. Can I have the next slide, please? It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Sangeeta Sharma. She is a professor, Department of Neuropsychopharmacology, Indian Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences, or IBHAS in short. She is also the president of Delhi Society for Promotion of Rational Use of Drugs. And her qualification is a master's in medicine, and she has several other qualifications to her credit. She works actively in the forefront of promoting rational use of medicines, and she has held several webinars and expert talks. She has conducted over 300 workshops to build capacities for doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. And one of her pioneering work is a book called Standard Treatment Guidelines, which is very popular. And she serves on the ethics committee of several organizations. Can I have the next slide, please? Our second speaker for today is Ikawat Suwantaroj. He's been part of the Thai Hemophilia Society for 20 years. He's the Vice President of Thai Hemophilia Patient Club and the committee member of the National Hemophilia Foundation of Thailand, and has been working with other chronic diseases to set up patient groups such as the Thai Rare Disease Foundation as well. Currently, he is a co-opted committee member of the World Federation of Hemophilia and the vice president of Thai Hemophilia Patient Club, and also a committee member of the National Hemophilia Foundation of Thailand. So welcome to you, Ikawat. Our next speaker is Elil Mathian Lakshmanan, and he's from Singapore and a resilient double cancer survivor of a decade. He is a devoted mentor within the Sing Health Patient Advocacy Network and focuses on patient advocacy, social work, and fundraising, lending his experience to guide patients from diagnosis to rehabilitation. He has unwavering commitment, garnered through numerous prestigious awards and included in as the Inspirational Hero Patient Award in 2015 and several other awards to his credit. Additionally, he co-founded and presides as the president of Ostomy Association of Singapore while holding leadership roles in various colorectal support groups at institutions like the Singapore General Hospital. Welcome to you, Elil. May I have this? And our industry expert today is Chui Ping Hua, and she's the regional head of patient safety and regional PVO manager of the AMAC or Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa region at Novartis. She's also responsible for overseeing the pharmacovigilance operations and ensuring the safety of Novartis products in the region. She has more than 15 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, working in various roles such as medical services, clinical research, and regulatory affairs, and has a Master's of Science degree in molecular biology from Belfast. She's an expert in the regulation of advanced therapies, which are innovative treatments that use cells, tissues, or genes to treat diseases. She's been a speaker at several events. Very warm welcome to you, Chui. Vikas, if I can have the presentation from Dr. Sangeeta, I would like to invite her today to speak on her topic, which is do patients really understand what medication errors are and the various types of medication errors that are there? What are serious adverse events? What are adverse events? And if they do not, how do we expect patients to participate or have a full participation in patient safety aspect? Over to you, Dr. Sangeeta.
Thank you, Ratna, for your kind introduction. Okay, shall I play my PPT from here? It would be easier.
Yes, please. If that's comfortable for you, please go ahead.
Yeah, please.
We can give you slide sharing rights. Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. If you could make it full screen.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ratna, for inviting me to share my viewpoint and, how should it be tackled. The topic, when you gave me this topic, I was little confused, what all do you want me to cover here? Certainly, then I, tried to construct my views on this, and I like the topic very much. This is quite challenging, so I try to do it this way. Quickly I will take you to the what do you mean by patient safety, and whether patients and other groups, they understand these terms that we use: errors, adverse events, and SAEs. And then I think, because there is not much to say about the understanding, but I could give you some case scenarios where the understanding of the patient helped in, averting that harm. So I think that was the positive way of saying it. And then quickly about the solutions which can be done. But my, task is little difficult because I have only 10 minutes to say. Okay. Patient safety, as you know, this is freedom from harm as much as possible, or risk of harm caused by our medical management. We are not talking about the complications, severity of the disease developing over time, but it is that nobody should suffer from harm because of our medical management. And the principle behind the entire medical care is first to do no harm. This is the book. I think anyone interested, it's a very interesting book. You can go through. There are various case scenarios given here, and this has become a public health issue, safety problem, because significant mortality, morbidity is attached, quality of life of the patients is affected, and people everywhere in all settings, right from tertiary care to primary care, from inpatient to ambulatory care, everybody comes across these problems. And you keep hearing about let me annotate, that will help. You know, we keep hearing about these in news, and mistakes or harm happens because of some or the other problem at all levels by doctors, pharmacists, nurses. And now nowadays there is another problem, you know, because of these litigations, you know, there are a lot of medical negligence cases which are arising. Even doctors have medical practice has become more of a defensive practice. So how and this can be tackled? Let's go through that part. It's not moving. Yeah. So also there are some false complaints, you know, which has made the practice little more difficult now. So let's first understand what it is and why are we so worried about medications. Medical errors are preventable. You know, let's understand this. These are preventable adverse events. So before that, you know, let's see, you know, what is adverse event. This can occur, you know, even when you are providing standard of care, you are following established protocols, but these are unanticipated, unplanned, unscheduled events which happen during medical care of the patient. You know, this could be a fall, it could be, you know, something fell, burns happening because of the cautery, or some error, you know, error happening, or harm happening to the patient. So by and large, these are all called adverse events, which may still happen. But when we say medical error, you know, here we mean that these are preventable. You can prevent. It is not necessary to suffer from harm or risk of harm during medical care. This usually happens by mistakes of or actions of the healthcare providers that results in unintended harm. So actually, you know, the point I'm also trying to make here is that this harm which is happening is not deliberate, and it is also not due to incompetent you know, healthcare providers. I think it is because of the people are working in inefficient systems, you know, where, you know, systems are not supporting these human beings, so processes are not well aligned. So, and this can happen, you know, process can go wrong anywhere from diagnosis to treatment to follow-up care. While these adverse events could be because of the side effects or the adverse drug reactions of the drugs. So we need to be very worried about it, because I always say medications are double-edged swords. You know, if you have effects, you have side effects too. Yes, to some extent you can decrease or reduce the harm or inconvenience caused by these adverse drug reactions, but certainly majority are not preventable, whereas medical errors are totally preventable. It needs some intervention from anyone in the chain of providing care, right from the doctor, nurse, pharmacist, and the patient himself, you know, can also contribute to by reducing these medical errors. For example, errors sometimes happen by patients, you know, when they are taking these medicines at home. Simple instruction like shake well before use. And suppose nobody prepared you or told you to do this before taking a medicine. This can contribute to either underdose or overdose, both of which can be harmful. For example, insulin, you know, most of us, you know, diabetes has become very common. So insulin suspensions are there. And if you don't shake it well before taking, either it can lead to hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. Similarly, phenytoin. So one simple instruction can save a lot of harm happening. Also, second, you know, many times these harm happen because, you know, either the patient is not able to swallow a full tablet, or some problem with taste or something, we crush these medicines. But if we know that there are certain groups of medicines, certain dosage forms of medicines, which should never be crushed, because otherwise this will be harmful. For example, enteric coated tablets are there, care, modified release preparations like long-acting preparations, slow release, extra long, extended release. All those modified release preparations should not. So one needs to check this, and health care workers need to prepare their patients on this. Then inadequate fluids with medication. Many patients believe that they can swallow a tablet without fluids, and we also prescribe sublingual tablets. It's very difficult for the patient to keep it under the tongue, so it slips into the mucosa, oral cavity, and it is swallowed. So the action would be terminated the moment it is swallowed. So these are some of the medicine administration errors which can occur. Now, coming to the question whether the patients understand this or not. Unfortunately, for patients, any adverse outcome, any adverse consequence of medical care is an error for them. They are actually, I may not be 100% correct, but they struggle with it. For them, they cannot differentiate between error or adverse event or serious adverse event. When I say serious adverse event, I mean death happening because of the harm adverse event, or hospitalization, prolongation of hospitalization, teratogenic effect on the baby, pregnancy outcome, carcinoma. These are serious ones, but they cannot make up, and it would vary widely depending on the factors like health literacy level of the patient, the kind of communication taking place between healthcare provider and the patient, and of course the complexity of the situation and the terminology used. Many times we as a doctor, use jargon, medical jargon, and we think for us these are routine words, but for patients they have different meaning and connotation. That makes altogether the difference between these terms that we use. And lastly, the transparency of the healthcare system. How open is the communication within a healthcare organization, whether they are ready, they have a learning culture, or they have a blaming culture, or they hide whenever such incidents happen. A lot of understanding would depend on it. If it is an open culture, they would discuss these problems. Why did this happen? And what are they doing to understand or to correct having this problem in future? And what are the outcomes for that? So that will help in improving the understanding. And certainly there is no doubt about it that empowered patients take actions that can help prevent further harm or complications to them. For example, I've given few case studies here. Here this patient helped himself, or by doing this medication reconciliation. Here, patient is supposed, he noticed that a medication was prescribed did not match the medication list that they had been maintaining at home. After questioning the healthcare provider, it was discovered that a prescribing error had occurred. The patient's vigilance prevented this from taking the wrong medication, potentially averting serious side effects. So it's very, very important that the patients share all the medicines being taken by them. Many a times we are consulting several specialists, or visiting several hospitals, or taking medicine treatment from several alternative systems of health, or we are taking vitamin or dietary supplements which can affect the outcome. So it is very important for the patients to maintain an up-to-date list of these medicines. Then allergy is one area where patients can certainly come up and help the patient, the doctor, in averting that harm. For example, if the patient remembers the signs, symptoms of allergy, and when was this happened, to which medicine are they allergic, this can be a very, very great way of engaging and reducing the harm. Because in hospitals we use these bands, but these cards are also important important. Many a times in Indian setting, our experience says, they do remember sometimes that, some medicine was forbidden for them, but then they cannot recollect the name of the drug. So it is important that you have a list of all those drugs to which a patient is allergic. These days we have smartphones. Even if you are not able to carry this kind of card, you can take a picture of this list of medicines that are forbidden for that patient. That can help a long way in reducing the harm. And then alerting surgical site infections, the moment they see erythema, redness is there, or blood is oozing out, or pus is oozing out. So recognizing this and promptly reporting this to the doctor can help in reducing the harm by early intervention. And of course, communication errors are the big problem. The patient was, it happens very often, how wrong patient surgeries happen, how wrong side surgeries happen. This is mostly because of the breakdown in the communication. There are several people involved in the care of the patient in the hospital, and of which the patient is a very important integral part. And certainly, what is it that procedure needs to be performed, which side is it the right eye or left eye. So the moment you see, and active participation in site identification can reduce these errors. And of course, medicines. Delayed diagnosis is another area where harm happens. And because of this delayed diagnosis, patients think that there is some error on the part of it, while from the medical point of view, it could be a genuine delayed diagnosis because of the insidious onset or non-specific symptoms. You are not able to make a quick diagnosis here, but perseverance of these symptoms, by the patient, by bringing out, they can have a multiple consultations on this. You can diagnose rare conditions, and this can also help them. So, but the point, in my experience, I have felt is, there are factors, which affect this relationship or engagement, is because many a times patients do not know what is their role, what is it that they can do to improve their safety. For example, many a times patients don't even communicate because they don't want to be labeled as difficult patients, so they take a passive role in there. So don't take, even if a patient is not able to remember the name of the medicine, I always say, at least you should know what is the purpose of giving that medicine. Is it a fever reducing? Is it infection, antibiotic? Is it antihypertensive, or is it for diabetes? That itself will help in understanding their role and improving adherence. And of course, WHO has given 5 moments for medication safety. Patients should exercise care while starting a medication. You should ask questions. What is it, what for it is, for how long it has to be taken, then taking, what side effects to expect, which one should raise an emergency, or what is a normal routine side effect. For example, when you take iron preparation, there is black discoloration of the stools. Some patients get unnecessarily alarmed, and they may visit the hospital for that. So if you know that, you expect it, so there would be a better acceptance of this side effect. Then adding a medication, this is one of the greatest risk factor for the patient. I always say polypharmacy. When you are on several medicines, expect some harm to happen due to adverse drug reaction or errors. Not more than 4 to 5 medicines should be there, but sometimes because of the comorbid conditions, some patients, especially the elderly, may need to be on several medications. But always ask, is there something that can be replaced or removed from my prescription list? So that will help you in monitoring your, and then reviewing your medicines, how long each has to be taken. For example, after a heart surgery or after a stent, aspirin is a very, very important medicine for thinning the blood. But suppose, imagine a situation if the patients didn't know that this is so vital for their health to keep the stent open, and they stop on their own without asking the doctor. So this can cause harm to the patient. I don't know, Ratna, if I have time, then I can quickly make them, there are many medicines available in the market, because they look alike. Their appearance is similar, or they sound alike. Names are similar. A patient many times cannot make out that difference. So, because patients usually identify these medicines by their appearance, color, the size, design. But please get into the habit of reading the label so that these mistakes do not happen. And of course, many a times even in hospitals people forget oral dosage forms, tablets, capsules also have their lookalikes. So please read. I have different examples shown here which are looking alike, but they are very much different. So get into the habit of knowing the names of the medicine so that error or harm due to these can be avoided. I think and refrain from taking telephonic orders. That's a very, very error prone. This should be limited because there can be errors of understanding. TD, PVD 2, 7, 16, 60 may sound similar and mistakes happen. Do not guess if you are not able to read your prescription properly, or your pharmacist is not able to read. So don't guess. Go back to your doctor, clarify, and get this rewritten so that mistakes do not happen. And as exercise care, especially when you are taking care from more than one physician or a provider, there can be duplication of medicines, there can be omission of an important medicine. So exercise care, and of course shared decision making will help you understand what are the treatment plans. Doctors can give you the information, and patients choose the treatment plan. So you understand what is medical treatment, surgical treatment, what are the pros and cons, and exactly based on that, you take these decisions together and use tools to improve, ask questions, engage your family caregivers in this. One of the you can play an active role by identifying if you come across any situation which is not familiar or which you think is not for you. Raise your alarm, monitor your own hand hygiene practices, and also about the healthcare providers, whether they are. Go back to your doctor if you have any problem, you get any other additional symptoms. Many of the times people say, I was called after 1 month, and if you have some problem immediately, severe problem, so I'll go after 1 month only. Please go back, follow up, give feedback. Doctor will modify this, use these technologies, reminders, wearable devices if you can, and you can participate in surveys, informal feedbacks, interviews. You can share your stories. I think Ratna is doing a commendable job by bringing these people together, and you people are sharing your concerns so that these are heard at a bigger level, and those things, concerns are taken note, and we modify our care being provided at the hospital. I think I took a little more time, but I hope you don't
Thank
mind.
you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. And several important points raised. I already see some questions, but we'll take the questions at the end of the session. I don't see Ikavat. I don't know if he's been unable to join or he has a problem. So what I will do is I'll call Elil to make his presentation, and Elil will be speaking on why patient and family engagement is vital to pharmacovigilance and harm reporting. So Elil, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ratna. I share my screen first. Okay. Yes. Can you all see my screen? Yeah. Right. So thanks, Dr. Ratna, for the introduction earlier. And thank you, Dr. Sangeeta, for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. There are so many areas that I can personally resonate with. And it was indeed very, very valuable advice. Now, what we do here, basically, just my, I'm so sorry, some technical problem. Here we go. Right. So I work with the healthcare cluster, one of the healthcare clusters, the Boston Health, as a patient advocate. And one of the reasons why I do so is because I think it's so important that patient involvement, all right, is necessary if we want to improve outcomes. Yeah, and the more patients who come forward, especially in our Asian context, the better it will be. All right, because someone has to present a patient perspective when it comes to creating better and safer care for everybody. So in our healthcare institutions, I mean, we have several touch points where we emphasize target zero harm. And we do have patient safety advocate pledges that we all undertake. And this pledge basically says that we speak up for patient safety, we act in the best interest of our patients, we foster teamwork for patient safety and ensure accountability for patient safety so that no patient who comes through our doors will be harmed. And this is a culture that we want to inculcate throughout our healthcare ecosystem. So the Single Patient Advocacy Network is actually a grouping of both patients and caregivers, right? We cannot ignore the contribution of carers because in many cases, the carers are the ones who make these major decisions for the patients, for their loved ones, right? And this grouping really is something that we are very thankful for. We work with the healthcare institutions, the healthcare professionals to make sure that we can improve outcomes all around, and we get involved in projects from the very beginning, right from the design stage, even in commissioning projects like for the new emergency medicine building and the elective care center. All right, so it's just okay, I saw Ikawat just came in. Sorry, Ikawat, I took away a slot. You can do yours later. All right, so so that's just briefly about what we do in Spain. The traditional approach for pharmacovigilance in Singapore was actually regulations, right? This was mainly done by the healthcare agencies, and reporting rules were all laid out. But it's only recently that we realize how important that the role of a patient is, and that's why there's now a shift of paradigm. All right, and we are now promoting spontaneous reporting of adverse events to HSA by, in addition to healthcare professionals or industry, which used to be the case, and now by patients. All right, and how can we empower patients for safer healthcare? So again, Dr. Sangeeta has shared so many cases of errors, and she's given us all the definitions of what an error is, communication errors, stuff like that. But then, how do patients get involved in this, right? And first of all, we have to promote patient safety reporting culture, and we have to treat patients as partners. We cannot just treat them as another case, right? And then we must build patient reporting platforms that are convenient, that are easy to access, that can be accessed easily, right? And then we need to educate the patients. Right? So what are the things that we need to look out for? Dr. Sangeeta gave us a whole list, right? New medications, changes in medication, change in color and all that, right? So we need to tell patients, look, you need to look up all this because not every patient is so conscious, so aware, so literate. So we must have concerted efforts to educate patients so that they know what to look up for and to alert the pharmacist or the physician if something goes amiss, right? And of course, we need to make improvements based on evidence, patient-reported outcomes, and most importantly, also share best practices and recognize role models. So we play a critical role, and caregivers especially, right? For the elderly and for the children, then the caregivers play the pivotal role in this. We need to foster appreciation of the patient contribution to medical safety. Share case studies, and I think this is an excellent example. This forum is an excellent example, all right, of how we can raise such awareness. So we must support the knowledge, must support networks and independent patient representation in medication safety systems. And again, this cannot be overemphasized. We must involve patients and caregivers in the development of policies and guidelines around medication safety. And not just formulate some policies that we think that will work and then just push it down for everyone to follow. Because unless patients and caregivers find it easy to use, convenient to use, then it will be very difficult to make sure that it catches on. Another aspect I feel that can help greatly in this effort, patient organizations and advocacy groups. If you take the example of patient organizations, patients have a more direct connection with patient organizations have a more direct connection with the patients, right? And then patients are more comfortable discussing disease-related issues with people from their own support groups, and also there's more frequent interaction. So the chances of catching on something that's gone amiss or some serious side effects that are not caught by the physicians or the pharmacists can be actually reported through patient organizations, and they become a very useful conduit for such reporting. So how can we then start playing an active role, right? First and foremost, the early detection of adverse events, right? So patients must again be educated now so that they can notice unusual symptoms or adverse effects of their medication. And their direct experience allows them to detect these side effects immediately, all right? And this may not be apparent to healthcare professionals who prescribe, dispense the medicine, and then after they may not come into contact with the patient for quite some time, all right? Secondly, the improved medication adherence. If a patient is better educated, then it is more likely that they will adhere to their prescription. Patient education programs can help improve medication adherence and reduce the risk of adverse events. And this is to nip the problem in the bud. Don't let it get to a stage where an adverse event is allowed to carry on until major harm is done. Again, communication, and this was emphasized by Dr. Sangeeta as well. Families and patients can provide important feedback about their experience with medication, including issues related to dosing, the administration, and of course the side effects. And effective communication channels must exist so that we can facilitate such reporting, right? And patient advocacy organizations like the one that I have, and also consumer groups can go a long way in helping to raise this awareness about medication safety and promote responsible medication use within the community. So more than, or in addition to actually elevating the patient voice, getting patients involved, getting patients engaged, we are also now looking at reaching out, going into the community and doing, taking efforts to educate the community at large through mass outreach programs, all right, on how to report adverse events and how to identify, when things go wrong. And of course, we need to support the research and data collection, right? Because patient-reported data can complement what the healthcare providers and pharmacovigilance systems data provide a more comprehensive picture of safety. And collaborations with patient advocacy organizations can help collect and analyze this data. And lastly, patient advocacy organizations can advocate for policies that prioritize patient safety. including stricter regulations on medication approvals and post-market surveillance. So it's all about building bridges between patients and healthcare providers. And one of the key challenges in enhancing patient engagement is building bridges between patients and healthcare providers. And for this, communication and collaboration are key. Right? So going forward, right, we must treat patients as equal partners. All right? We cannot just perceive them as patients who need to be treated. Get them involved from the very beginning in whatever projects we undertake. And then we can make sure that the policies and initiatives they put across will be patient-centric from the very start. All right? And then we need to foster patient engagement in regulatory pharmacovigilance. And this is something that we need to put forward to the powers that be, especially the ministries and the agencies that regulate. And strong collaboration among all stakeholders is really key, right, going forward. So to target zero harm, patient engagement and pharmacovigilance are inseparable elements of it. And patients and their families must necessarily play a vital role in early detection, communication, and improving medications.
Thank you, Elil. And a very important message, building those bridges so that the traditional concept of provider and recipient is dispelled and patients become equal partners in their decision making and are empowered with the right knowledge as well as the information so that they're able to report back. Another important, suggestion that came from you is to use patient-reported data to complement the data that comes from healthcare institutions and healthcare providers. Extremely important, so that they're able to also contribute to policy making, regulatory decisions, as well as research. So thank you so much for your perspectives, and we will take the questions at the end of the session. Our next speaker is Ikawat, and he will be speaking from the Thailand perspective on what role patients and families can play in pharmacovigilance. Welcome, Ikawat, and over to you.
Hi, Ratna. Thank you for introduction. I will start with, I am a hemophilia patient. So that means I born with this health condition. You can call me the patient expert because I think I know everything about hemophilia because I born with it. And some doctors said maybe I know my condition better than the doctor. So this is, I think, for all the chronic disease patient and rare disease patient who born with this disease have this kind of similar experiences. And it could be really useful for not only for the patient and family, but also for the healthcare provider to use this knowledge to improve the healthcare system. In Thailand, in the past 10 years, we try to have patient engagement in the local way, in the hospitals, and also in the national level. I think for more and more that they open opportunity for patients to voice what they need, what they want from the physicians and from the system. But this is still really many challenge in this field because the patients in our country, in Thailand, I believe in low middle income country, we not training to be that level. We is more passive. We waiting for the doctor to tell us what to do, and we listen to them, follow them. And one day you say, okay, we want to know what you want. I want to hear your voice. It's a little bit overwhelming for the patients to take that step. I think the first thing that the patients needed to get together as a patient organization or the patient group, it could be formal or informal, either way it's fine. And that could be happen when the doctor introduced this kind of idea to the patients. I don't think the patients will just stand up and say, okay, we get together and try to make some change. It's difficult for the patient and family at the beginning point. So in the starting point, maybe the doctor or healthcare professional, they give this idea to the patients, tell them what the benefit to get together as a patient group. And then you find the patient champion in your group, okay? Educate them. So in the beginning, as a hemophilia patient club, we're not going to talk about changing the policy, try to get all the treatment for patient for the whole country. Is patient and family will freak and they say, oh, I don't want to work with that. So this patient organization is too much for me. In the beginning, it's just peer-to-peer support. So we listen to them, what they want, what they have to coping with their everyday life, and we try to help them. I remember the first time that I joined the patient organization, we just listen what the parents want to take care of their kid and grow up, and what they worry about. They want to see the hope that the kid will grow up with this disease and they can go to the school, they can work, they can have a families. Something that really fundamental issue that we talk. And then we kind of groom them up and see what they want to be sustainable. It's not only for the patients that we get together or the doctor. Maybe they just two part, patient and doctor. We cannot make this sustainable. We need the government part to join us. And with this three party, we can make something change. But to go to that point, we need a strong patient organization, and that have to be supported by the doctors and nurse and social worker or someone who see this benefit of the patient's organization, which is so important. I helping some patient organization to set up the patient group, but after that, they just up and down with the activity, and sometimes they just disappear. So we need the long-term support. It's not the short-term until they can handle the organization by themselves. Okay, I think that's the key thing is the open opportunity for the patient to get together. Another thing that can have the patient involved in that policy level is education. How to educate them to know well about their disease, about their conditions, and what does the patient safety mean to them. When they talk about patient safety, it's not only in the hospital, but also every places, when they home, when they go to work, when they go to school, it's all the patient safety. How we bring the safety for their own life in every day. So we want to listen to them. Okay, I remember when the first time that the patient organization, hemophilia patient get together, what we want is, we want a treatment product as soon as possible when we have breathing condition. We don't want to travel to the hospital and waiting for the hospital process to get the factor concentrate to stop breathing. So the solution is we come up with the early treatment program, which is we can keep the factors at home. And how can we keep the factor at home? That means we have to do our cell infusion. Cell infusion in the vein injections, and we're not a healthcare professional. How the government, doctor and nurse trust the patient that we can handle this is not individual patient. We say, oh, we can do it. It has to be a group of patients, and we train each other, we educate each other, and we feel that we're ready to handle these kind of situations. It's about the trust. It's trust the doctor and the government trust the patient can do it. And that very helpful, and that change hemophilia patient life in Thailand after we have the treatment product at home, because we don't need to travel to the hospital. We can manage our breathing episode. When we have the minor breathing condition, we can right away can get the treatment to ourselves. And when we have the complicated issue, we can go to the hospital, and that reduce the hospital workload also. So everybody benefit from this process. But when we get to this process, we have to get all stakeholders together as a round table stakeholders. And then everything have to be done on this table, and how we can come up and have a chance that the patient is ready to get to that point, that need the support from all stakeholders also. I think that this kind of my experience and journey for the patient to get to healthcare system. Back to you, Rana.
Thank you, Kawat. And you raised a very important point about patients. I mean, it's very nice to talk about patients being engaged, but are the patients ready to be engaged? And to build their trust, what do you need to do? What is the process to have them engaged? Also, with many long-term conditions now being treatable at home, how do we report adverse events or medication errors, and what can we teach the patients to do to reduce harm, and how can we upskill the patients so that they are able to manage their condition at home? Very important points that you have raised through your talk. So thank you so much. And there might be a few questions, but we will get back to the questions towards the end of the webinar. Our next speaker is Chui, and she will be speaking about industrial perspective of pharmacovigilance and patient safety. And over to you, Chui. And will you be making your own presentation, or do you want us to manage it?
Yes, Dr. Rana. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So would you like to show your own presentation, or do you want us to manage it?
I can show my own presentation, if that's fine.
That will be great. That will be great. Thank you. We can assist you if that doesn't work. Yeah.
Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, I am able to.
Okay, very good afternoon to everybody. And also thank you, Dr. Rana, for this opportunity, for me to talk about pharmacovigilance and patient safety from the industry perspective. Are you able to hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you clear. Please go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just start off with a disclaimer. So we talk about pharmacovigilance a lot. So what exactly is pharmacovigilance? In short, we like to call them as PV. Well, pharmacovigilance actually comes from the word pharmacon, which means medicinal substance, and vigilia, which means to keep watch. And according to WHO, pharmacovigilance is actually the science and activities related to the detections, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects. Medicine and advanced therapy has transformed the treatment of disease, but in addition to their benefits, these medicinal products may also have some side effects. So after the thalidomide disaster, I don't know how many of you have heard about the thalidomide disaster. In 1961, thousands of children were born with severe birth defects, to the mothers who have actually taken thalidomide during their pregnancy. So after this disaster in 1961, international effort was initiated to address the drug safety issues. And the two major regulatory agencies that drive the global PV regulations are the European Medicines Agency, EMA, and also the US FDA. But many countries, in addition to these two regulatory agencies, many countries also follow the ICH guidelines on PV. And over the past decades, the practice of PV has actually changed. It has actually shifted from a reactive approach where adverse event or side effects were collected and monitored to actually a more proactive approach that focuses on the risk mitigations and also communication strategies. So before a drug is registered, it must go through rigorous testing for safety and efficacy through clinical trials. And at registrations, the health authorities will ensure that the drug is effective and the expected benefits outweighs the potential risks. However, there is some limitations in clinical trials due to the small number of selected patients and also a short period of time. Some side effects may only emerge when the products have been used by a bigger and also a more diverse population and over a longer period of time. Therefore, it is also crucial to monitor any side effects after the product is available in the market. Hence, PV plays an important role throughout the life cycle of a product, from clinical trials through post-marketing. So what happens when side effects are reported? So when the company receives a side effect, they will enter this information into a database called the safety database. And periodically, the data in this database will be reviewed and assessed for safety issues. If there are any safety issues of concern, for example, if there is a new risk that has been identified, or if a known risk that have changed, the company will include this new information into the prescribing information or the product information. And also the reports will be submitted to the health authority worldwide. And if there are any serious safety concerns, the company may actually review the marketing status of the products and withdraw the products if there is any threat to public health. Lastly, the risk will also be included into a document called the risk management plan. In short, we call the risk management plan as RMP. So the RMP actually contains important risks of the drugs, and it also details on how these risks can be minimized. There are also proposed activities to monitor and characterize the risks. Hence, RMP will help to ensure that the benefit of a drug exceeds the risk by the greatest possible margin for the patient. This means that by reducing the risk or minimizing the risk, patient can actually obtain maximum benefit from the drugs. One of the most common risk minimization methods is actually to include the safety information into the product label or control the access to the drugs. For example, make the drug available only through prescription. So for most drugs, routine risk minimization is adequate. Sometimes additional risk minimization activities may be required. And the most common activities is educational programs for patients, the caregivers, and also the healthcare professionals. For products with a higher risk, restricted access may be required. So for example, sometimes the hospital and the treatment centers need to be qualified before they start using the products. And also the healthcare professionals who are involved in the treatment of the patients needs to complete the educational program. And of course, the patients and caregiver may also need to undergo educational program or training. But just wanted to also let you know that not all side effects are undesirable. Occasionally, some side effects are favorable. For example, we have heard of cancer drugs that actually promote hair growth, glaucoma eye drops that promote growth of eyelashes, and to the most recent news that I'm sure many of you might have heard of, diabetes drugs that cause weight loss. Okay, now I would like to share a story with you. So, long time ago, there was a happy little girl who lived in Singapore. One day, her classmate asked her, "Your teeth are so dirty. Why don't you brush your teeth?" She told them that she had brushed her teeth every day, but they don't believe her. She was very sad and hurt. From that day, she would brush her teeth very hard, hoping to remove the dirt. However, it didn't work. Her teeth remained dirty. From then on, she would consciously hide her teeth, especially when smiling. Many years later, she visited a dentist. After examining her teeth, the dentist asked, "Have you been brushing your teeth very hard? Your gum is receding. You shouldn't be brushing too hard. It will not remove the stain in your teeth as they are permanent and caused by drug, most probably antibiotics." She was surprised to know the stain in her teeth was actually a side effect of a drug after so many years. Finally, she learned to accept herself and start to build her self-esteem. She was also happy that other children will not be suffering from the same side effect as her, because now the drug is not to be used in pregnancy and children less than 8 years old. Thank you for listening to my own little story and also my experience with a side effect. So I hope that from this story, you understand the importance of side effect reporting. And this is also the very first step of a pharmacovigilance system. Let us speak up for the patient safety. Patients, together with the healthcare professionals, the health authorities, and the companies, all of us play an important role in ensuring safety of patients. By improving patient safety, we can lower the healthcare costs and also improve the care that is provided to the patients, their families, and the community. Every effort counts to patient safety. Now I would like to share a video with you on how we can contribute to patient safety. So let us collaborate for patient safety. Dr. Rana, will it be possible for you to play the video? Because I think I have some difficulty.
No problem. Vikas, can you please play the video?
Hi, Dr. Lim. I'm Nancy. I was here for a consultation last month.
Hi, Nancy. How can I help you?
I've been on my maintenance medications for a few weeks now, and they've made a remarkable difference. My health has significantly improved, and my symptoms are well under control. However, a couple of days ago, I started to experience a slight discomfort in my breathing that didn't go away. I decided to come and seek your advice.
Thank you for coming in. It's very important that you let me know about these things. I'll report this to the medicine company straight away. They constantly gather feedback like this to see if there are any safety issues they need to be aware of. As patients like you share your own experiences, you become active contributors to the safety of medicine usage, shaping the health practices of both the present and the future. Based on the information they collect, medicine companies might change instructions, add warnings on the packaging, or even stop selling the medication if the risks outweigh the intended benefits for you.
I didn't realize my feedback could make such a difference.
Yes, Nancy. Your feedback is crucial. This process is called pharmacovigilance. It depends on everyone's participation. Patients like you, healthcare professionals like me, health authorities, and the medicine companies. Your feedback directly contributes to the ongoing safety of these medicines.
That's good to know. I feel like I'm part of something important.
You definitely are, Nancy. By sharing your experience today, you're not just helping yourself, but potentially many others around the world who are taking the same medication. Be like Nancy. Stay vigilant. Help create a safer, healthier world.
Thank you. Thank you for that very nice video and the message that came from it. So I have a couple of questions, and we heard from both Elil as well as Ikawat that patients are becoming more and more responsible. They have the information and the knowledge, especially if they're taking medicines for a very, very long time, then they have the experience of what happens, and that knowledge is very valuable within the patient groups. However, we see more and more that patients want, treatments to reach their homes, and sometimes when adverse effects or medication errors happen and something untoward happens at home, patients really don't know who to go to or how to report. And LL did make a reference to online reporting platforms. So my question is to both the experts, Dr. Sharma as well as to Chui. So if patients really want to report, are there any platforms or anything outside the pharmaceutical industry that it's easy for patients to report to? And if that is not there, what can we do to drive that, reporting format, and how can we set it up so that can patients collect information themselves and report it to the government, or is the government mandated to do it? Is there a format for it? How can we do that so that, more information can be collected?
Ratna, in India, there is a provision for reporting by the patients. There is a toll-free number. The Pharmacovigilance Program of India, PVPI, has this mandate to collect this side effects reported by the patients. So toll-free number is there. They have also facilitated the reporting by using social media. So they have, Instagram and other, to whatever is comfortable for the patient, they can report it. And the formats are also given there.
Okay. Thank you so much. Most of us don't know about this, so maybe there needs to be more awareness around it. Chui, do you have any insights into it?
Yeah. So in company like Innovatis, we actually have a website set up that is actually for patients to report the adverse event directly to us. And I understand that in some countries, for example, like in Malaysia, there are also channel or avenues for patients to report adverse event directly to the health authorities.
Thank you. My next question is a little tricky. And see, the traditional format of taking medicines is that the doctor prescribes it, you go to a pharmacy and you buy it from the pharmacy, or you go to a hospital's pharmacy and you buy it from the hospital's pharmacy. But we see more and more that there are online pharmacies where they deliver medicines to your doorstep. And when something like this happens, and if there is a switch in medicines or if something else is delivered, how do you report? Is there a provision for us to report if we get subject to, of course, we understanding that the medicines that were given to us are not the same as what was ordered? So is there any regulation or format or any methodology that if you buy medicines from an online pharmacy, you can report back?
Ratna,
anyone having experience? Yeah.
I think you're talking about error, when you take a drug by mistake, something else was written and something else was dispensed. Is that?
I'm speaking from a personal experience where medicines for diabetes were ordered through an online pharmacy. We know that many online pharmacies exist these days. And what was dispensed was not the same as what was ordered, even though a prescription is uploaded online. And in such cases, if you notice the error, then you return the medicine. But if you do not notice and something happens, what do you do? Do you report to the online pharmacy, or do you report to the government? Do you report to the manufacturer? Do you report to all of them? How do you manage this kind of a situation?
Yeah, very tricky situation. In India,
Yes.
this online pharmacy is still evolving. There are, regulations are yet not notified in this. They were under draft, discussion going on, but they have not been notified. This is one of the very important area that you have pointed out. So I don't think so there is a provision under online pharmacy to report this. Maybe they can return once noticed, but if it goes unnoticed, this becomes an error. And we are, as in India, we are in the process of setting up that dashboard where the reporting by the patient is enabled and they can report these kind of errors. But this is under, consideration and development only, but no, known site, we can give right now. Now, coming to the pharmacovigilance program, certainly it can be reported over there. So that mechanism is there, and that mechanism can be used for this.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Chui, do you have any insights for this? I mean, would the manufacturer be able to take any reports from patients? And are there, you mentioned you have a website, but sometimes, people are not aware of these websites. So how can patient organizations know? And there are so many pharmaceutical agencies, each one having their own website. So how can we make it easier for patients to report if they want to report something to the manufacturer?
Yes. So like what you mentioned, that if the patients actually got the drugs from the online pharmacy, they can actually, if they do suffer from any side effects or adverse event, they can do report it to the companies that manufacture the drugs. Because I think medication error is actually a reportable event. And
Yeah.
how do they contact the company? Basically, I think most of the company has a contact detail, depending on the regulation in the countries, because some countries, they may actually have the contact details on the product packaging itself, or the patient can also search, like do a Google search to find out the contact details of the company, where they can actually call up the company directly and make the report.
I understand that. What I'm trying to say is, suppose I have four conditions. Say I have diabetes, I'm a cancer survivor, I have hypertension, and I also have a dermatological condition. And I do not know which medicine has caused the harm. And if I look at all the medicines that I'm taking, there might be 20 manufacturers who are there. So do I report to all 20 manufacturers because I don't know which medicine has caused the harm? Or how do I, if I'm a patient, how do I handle this situation?
Okay, I think the most direct will be to consult your doctor.
Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor will be able to make a judgment.
Ratna, I think there is in Indian program, PVPI program, there is a provision for reporting quality problems issue where you either have no response. So there is a provision for these kind of reports as well. So the same portal can be used for reporting these, because otherwise going to all the companies or, it's really, not going to help the patient actually.
Also, going to the doctor might sometimes be very difficult because you have to take an appointment and then you have to go and report. And if this is an emergency situation, the emergency doctor might not know your full history. I faced this kind of a situation, and this is coming from an experience. And that is why I'm trying to understand what happens if a patient has to go and report. I also have another question coming from what Ikavat shared about medicines being easily available so that long waiting times are reduced. So these kind of programs need a lot of patient education as well as capacity building. So how to take the infusion properly, how to manage your medication at home. If you have multiple medications, how to know, the timings for those medications, etc. Need a lot of patient education programs. So Dr. Sangeeta or Chui or even Ekawat or LL, does your country have any such patient education programs where you bring patient groups together to make them understand the medicines that they take for their particular therapy area and what to be aware of? Or are there any red flags that they should be reporting? Should they know what kind of side effects are possible? And if those side effects are beyond tolerance, what to do?
Yes, Radha. I think in the beginning of this program, we not allow every family can do the
Yeah.
home infusion. We start with maybe in the capital city, Bangkok, or educate family and make sure that they can handle with this kind of situation. Otherwise, the government will be aware and maybe they shut this program down. So we try to make sure that we can handle this. So we start with maybe in Bangkok, and then we spread it out to remote area and other province. But this program has to be, all the stakeholders have to be together, like a pharma, doctors and government and the patient organization. We have to work together, come up with the patient camp or the hospital base that they can get the patient together and educate them. And in the beginning, it's not easy. I can understand. So we have to have a backup plan that if they cannot do it at home, so they can right away go to the hospital. So we have the letters, doctor letters, that they can keep it. So if they have, in case they cannot do it.
So Ikawa, do you have modules for this that you use, or is it just an open training program?
We have a training program, and we have our organization include the doctor in this organization. So we can also get the complaint or the report from the patient and family in case they have some kind of difficult time to do the infusion or the medication has some problem, and then we can contact to the pharma. So we kind of in the middle person.
Thank you. And my next question would then be to Chui. So we saw a very nice video where the patient came and reported something that was unusual to her. And this kind of video is very attractive because it is in a comic format. And these kind of videos, you don't really have to understand the language. From the video itself, you can get the message. Considering that Ikawa's organization is doing a lot of training programs, is there some way that patient groups can collaborate with the industry to create these kind of educational materials, which can be played in the comfort of the patient's home? So, for example, a demo on how to take an infusion. That would be extremely useful and would help the patients to understand, what kind of mistakes are possible and how to avoid those mistakes. So do you see that opportunity, and how can you help patient organizations to build their capacities?
Yes.
I-
In fact, actually,
Yep.
this is something that we are exploring because, like in my session earlier, I was talking about risk minimization plans for products. For some of the products, if we feel that it will help to minimize the risk to the patients, we do have some educational program for both either the patients and the caregiver and also the healthcare professionals. Yeah. So
Thank
from
you.
our side, I think we need to work with also the regulatory agency because there are some regulatory agencies that has very strict regulations that doesn't allow the company to have this direct communications with the patients. However, I think
Yes.
it will be really helpful if we can have some patient program directly, because we are also trying to see how this educational program for the patients can evolve over time, where we can have looking at some digital materials for the patients as well.
Thank you. And Dr. Sharma has her hand raised. She is an educationist, so I'm sure she has already got a lot of resources.
There are no many formal groups, who are working on this medication safety in general. Specific something like, like Gawat mentioned, hemophilia, some diseases specific, those groups are there. But recognizing this gap area, we started this public campaign program. We started with school teachers and school children about medication safety. So we had a targeted education program for the school teachers where we talked about all these issues and what can they do, to mitigate the risk involved with the medications and how early intervention can help. So this was very well, taken up by the school teachers. They were very enthusiastic and they had a lot of questions about, storage, usage, disposing of expired medicines, vitamins. They were very much concerned, protein supplements. These are burning issues these days. Children are very fond of, protein supplements. So they wanted to know how to manage this. The experience was really very good.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
just
ma'am.
wanted to add. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, go ahead, Elil, and then Ekavat. Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to add that SPEN, we do have, as I said, groupings of patients as well as caregivers. And we do invite people from the pharmaceutical discipline, pharmacists in the healthcare institutions to come and share with us about such pharmacovigilance and what the problems they face and what patients can do to help themselves. How can they be more engaged? And I think we are in a position where we can organize such educational forums for other patient organizations. Like in November, we are having a forum where we bring together different patient organizations from all over the country. And this is where we share best practices and stuff. So we can actually help do the educational part by inviting these patient organizations and also coming up with an education program on pharmacovigilance for all of them.
Thank you. And I completely agree. I think one of the formats for doing that is to share stories. Like Chui did, her personal story was so profound because even though she's a practitioner in healthcare, she wasn't aware that there is a side effect of tetracycline unless many years later. So patient stories are very, very powerful. And one of the formats in which experiences can be brought forward, not only to share amongst patient groups, but also with other healthcare professionals, is to capture patient stories. Ikavat, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to mention about working with the pharma. Without a doubt, the pharma is one of the most important stakeholders because we have to use the treatment product. But
Yes.
we don't, sometimes the patient organization, we don't know how to work with the pharma. We don't have the pharmaceutical policy. I know the pharma, they have how to work with the patient. So they have the medical part, they have a marketing part. But as a patient organization, we don't have that. And sometimes with the young organization, they don't know how to play this game. Sometimes they took advantage to the patient organization. So this is a thing that we try to develop, this kind of education for the young patient organization. It's okay to have the win-win situation with the pharma, but how we manage this kind of project together, that's the key.
I agree, Ikavat. And I think internationally, IFPMA has guidelines on how patient organizations need to be engaged with. There is a code of conduct, but considering that our regulatory mechanisms in each country are different, sometimes those codes are not really followed in letter and spirit. So what I would encourage is that patient organizations read those code of conduct and be aware of what is written there for engagement with patient organizations. So my last question, and this could be something that, we don't end this webinar as one webinar, but how do we move forward? Because though this year's theme is patient and family engagement, we don't want this World Patient Safety Day to remain a one-day event or a series of events across a week. But how do we plan forward so that this movement that has started today and the understanding that we have gathered today doesn't remain for today? So any last thoughts or one sentence from each of the speaker on what would you wish to do as a continuing engagement, with various stakeholders to take this whole idea of patient and family engagement forward for patient safety? Maybe I can start with Dr. Sharma.
I fully agree with you. Patient safety, every day is a patient safety day. It should not be one of the days, where we all come together, talk about this, and then forget about it. But definitely, this should be, applied. I always believe in, unless it is applied at the ground level, where each and every patient, we make an attempt to empower, engage them. So I think one of the important reasons for better acceptance is, of course, we need to empower the patients, but healthcare providers also need to be educated about it. In my experience of I am an author of that standard treatment guidelines. We have a patient education section for each disease there. That was the most difficult part to write. All my contributors gave number of pages about the management of the disease, but when I asked them about give me few lines about how would you like to educate your patient, none of them could give it, because one of the reason later I understood, because this kind of information is not readily available. Even if the doctor wants to give it, many of us do not know, what all information to be passed on. Even if it comes to ADR, there are so many of them. Do you narrate all of them? Do you tell all of them? So is it the important ones, most important common ones that you are going to tell? So these were the difficulties of the doctors. Of course, they have their own problem of heavy patient load, consultation time is less. But within that limited consultation time, we need to optimally utilize this time. So they need to be better prepared also. So they should have a positive attitude and also embrace this, as one of the duties. Otherwise, they just leave it to the pharmacist or the nurse to explain. So whereas each one of the stakeholder need to explain this to their patients on their own as well.
I completely agree with you, ma'am. I think doctors and all healthcare providers also need training on how to engage with patients and what information to pass. So Elil, what would be your one sentence to the audience?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thanks for organizing this excellent forum on such an important topic. I think going forward, we have heard from the video from PVC, we've heard from Mikawat about educational materials, as well as Dr. Sharma's book. I think going forward, we should look to a way where we can compile these resources and see how we can share them around so that we can tweak them for our own country's context and use them as an educational material to be disseminated at the right platforms.
Thank you so much. Ikawat, your message to the audience?
Yeah. I think the word is trust. I would like all the stakeholders trust in the patient organization and give them the opportunity to speak up and listen to their idea. And also, we don't need to wait until we become a patient. We can introduce to the people safety. We all have to be aware about the safety, and that we're not going to become a patient.
Thank you, Ikawat. Trust is the key, so that people trust us more and believe in the information that we are giving. And Chui, your message?
Thank you. So totally agree with Dr. Sanjita and Igawa. I mean, from my story, you can see that at a certain time point, we are all a patient. So I think for us to collect this safety information is really important. However, the challenge that we have from the industry a lot of time is we get very limited information from the healthcare professionals, maybe because, of course, they have a very heavy workload. However, I think that, maybe we should raise the awareness of the healthcare professionals that, these are really very important information to be collected. Because only with the full information, then in the company and also in the health authority, we can do a full assessment whether the effect is due to the drug and how we can help to prevent all these risks to the patient.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists for sharing their thoughts with us today. It was a very good webinar because of what we learned from your insights and the experiences that you brought to the discussion. Thank you especially to Novartis for supporting us for holding this webinar. What I would like to also share with the audience is that we have a poster contest, and the link is on our website, www.payeracademy.org. Please go to that and encourage patient groups in your countries to participate in that poster competition. We would like to support the top 3 winners with a small token amount so that they can hold workshops within their countries to be able to move forward. As Ikawa said, they are doing a good job already. So if there are winners, we would like to support them to organize maybe a small workshop with their patient groups to understand what patient safety means. We also have a call to action on our website. There is a pledge and SPAN and IPSQ from Singapore were part of this discussion when we created that pledge on how to demystify the patient and family engagement in strategic objective 4 of the Global Patient Safety Action Plan. So the pledge talks to all stakeholders and says we support patient safety and we want safer healthcare. So please go to the website and sign to that pledge, and you can sign as an individual or as an organization. So thank you so much. I hope to keep connected with all of you to drive the movement on patient safety forward. Thank you so much and have a great week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Ratna. Thank you.